All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining. My name is Ketley Valcourt. If you haven't met, if we've met virtually, I am the Study Abroad Programs Lead with SAGE in the International Education and Engagement Office. We're really excited to be wrapping this up and working through all these workshops together. So just want to thank you all for sticking with us and asking all the questions and attending all of the meetings, whether it was Zoom or in person. Just a couple of things to keep in mind. Brenda, correct me if I'm wrong. All the videos, the first three videos should already be uploaded, and then this one should be available next week. Perfect. Yay. All right. So, like I said, we'll be talking about how to wrap up right post-trip, closing out and reconciliation. We're going to be hearing from a lot of great offices and just all of the questions you may have. Please feel free to put them in the chat. We also have one of our faculties, Judo May Mariano. Please correct me if I'm wrong pronouncing your last name. But Judo has been so kind and gracious to share a lot of her insight. I've now worked with her on two programs, which is crazy, two and a half. So she has a lot of insight to share. So please feel free to gain insight from the faculty perspective, think through some questions you may have, and again, put all of that in the chat. We will go ahead and get started.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rosemary Viveros. I'm a PCAR program analyst. Unfortunately, Nikki had a last minute emergency, and I'll be presenting for her. Okay, next slide. All right, thanks. Okay, so within the study abroad planning timeline, PCAR charges typically occur between 11 to 7 months prior to the program's departure date. These charges generally begin after the agreement has been officially signed, while our preference is that no expenses are charged before the agreement is fully executed. We understand that certain situations may require early use of the P card. In those cases, we ask that you could please communicate with us beforehand, especially if these charges are related to study abroad program expenses or to travel related fees. Next slide. Thank you. Typically, the study abroad P charges include deposits. Deposits under $5,000 are acceptable. We ask that you reference the agreement or contract number, which becomes available after the contract has been signed. Travel related expenses that are not tied to the study abroad agreement, such as airfare, hotel, transportation, insurance, and general supplies. Um, these may occur before the agreement is signed, and that is understandable. Another supplies could be course materials, or essential items such as first aid kits. Those may be purchased as needed. Just please note that over-the-counter medications should not be purchased individually. Only medications that are already come packaged within the first aid kit. Okay, for any group tours or excursions, we ask that you wait until after the agreement is signed, especially for activities that fall outside the scope of the agreement. Just keep in mind that queue numbers are only required when the activity includes guided services or formal terms and conditions. Uh, a queue number is not required for a simple entry fee. So for example, if you plan to visit a museum and you only plan to pay for the entry fee, a queue number won't be required. However, if you choose to add a guided tour, to the museum visit, then a queue number will be required. Lastly, we also see often group meals. For example, a welcome meal for the group at the start of the trip is completely understandable. Likewise, if you would like to have a group meal at the end of the program to close out the experience, that is also perfectly fine. Okay, next slide. Okay, P-card reconciliation preparation. So you have used your P-card and made some transactions. Now it's time to reconcile. Here's what you will need to prepare for your P-card reconciliation. Um, First, your US bank monthly statement, your concurrent transactions, whether they're P-card related or travel related, your receipts or invoices, any compliance documentation, a detailed business purpose, and if applicable, information related to reimbursement or fraud. Just keep in mind that all expense reports are generally due on the 10th of each month. Next slide. So preparation, US Bank monthly billing statement. So let's talk about who has access to the US Bank statements. Well, first of all, the cardholder usually has access as long as they have created an account. If not, they can always delegate access to somebody else in their department who can help. Having the monthly billing statement is helpful because it captures all the transactions for that billing cycle. It ensures that everything is reconciled to the correct month, and it also helps distinguish between the P-card transactions and the travel transactions. Okay, next slide. Okay, preparation, travel-related expense reporting. This screen is very busy, so I want you to just focus on the red highlighted areas. Um, the blue box mentions how study abroad student-related expenses belong to the P-card expense report. Study abroad faculty-related expenses go on the travel expense report. If you can see the little gray box in the middle of the slide, that actually talks about how one trip can have two different components, one for students and one for faculty. So these will go on two separate reports. However, if students are involved at all in that transaction, then that transaction needs to come to the P-card side. Next slide. Preparation, receipts and invoices. So since we're focusing on the P-card side, here's what you need for student-related transactions. First of all, your receipts. Receipt must include vendor name, date of purchase, quantity and price, a clear itemized list of what has been bought. Any foreign currency amounts need to be converted to US dollars. And if the receipt is in another language, we need to have that receipt translated. We also need any shipping charges or sales tax. Of course, we need the total amount. And ideally, we would like to see a proof of payment showing the last four digits of the P card. Okay, if a receipt is missing or incomplete, first we suggest that you contact the vendor. We understand this can be tough, especially internationally. But if you cannot get a copy of the receipt, then you'll need to complete a lost missing receipt form. You can find that in our website. Okay. Preparation, compliance, documentation. Um, You may also need to upload compliance documentation, such as the study abroad agreement or contract, any hospitality forms for group meals, um, any IT authorization if you're buying any equipment, branding approval emails for promotional items, and a queue number for services, tours, or excursions. Okay, preparation, the detailed business purpose. So a detailed business purpose needs to include enough detail for a third-party reviewer, usually an auditor, to understand your purchase. So this should include the who, the what, the when, the where, and why. Please, we ask that you avoid any abbreviations or acronyms. Um, some tips. Um, we would like for you to make sure that each item on your receipt has a clear detail. We usually use this example of Target and Walmart. Target or Walmart, you can buy a TV and you can also buy a bag of chips. So those are two different categories and need to be itemized separately, even if they're in the same receipt. Okay. Um, for the business purpose, as you can see, that orange or red box, um, that will show in the TitanInsights. So it can be brief. However, for our purposes, for auditing purposes, we suggest that you use the comment section where you can be a lot more detailed about your business purpose. Next. Okay, expenses requiring reimbursement and fraud transactions. Expenses that fall under Section 6 of the policy, which is prohibited expenditures, must be reimbursed by the cardholder. When reconciling, we please ask that you use account 660898, which is disallowed. That reimbursement has to be made out of pocket or through auxiliary funds using the deposit form. It is in our website as well. And for fraud transactions, we usually recommend that you call US Bank immediately. They'll typically ask for the card address, which is the 2600 Nutwood, your phone number, and your social security number. Your social will be your seaweed, and then any additional details about the charge that you may have. Once they verify this information and they make their investigation, US Bank will send you a statement, which you must upload to your reconciliation. Any fraud charges need to be allocated to 660999 on reconcile. Okay, any questions? No questions? Okay, thank you. This is our CMP contact information. We have our general office phone number. We also have our emails, CMP emails and e-business email, as well as our website. Thank you so much.
There is a question from Natalie in the chat. Are lost missing receipts allowed for hotels that we are unable to get an itemized receipt for?
Yeah,
Um,
lost and missing receipt form can be used for any type of uh, receipt that you have not been able to obtain. So yes, as long as it has the proper signatures, you can use the lost and missing receipt form.
Yeah, those would be useful for it depends on the hotel.
Actually,
Uh
that would be a travel question, right? Because of it's a travel expense.
well uh
It goes
sure.
it goes under
Yes.
both. What you
Yeah.
have to
Yes.
reconcile one and you have to travel.
Yeah, you know, I think if it's a reputable hotel and then somebody says, we can't get a receipt,
That's questionable.
it's a little bit questionable. Okay. Sometimes when I book through Expedia, we can't get the right kind of receipt. Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, I've kind of seen some of that from Expedia specifically. The best case scenario is if you're at the hotel, you should be able to get a folio. Also, if you contact the hotel directly versus Expedia, most hotels will be able to provide you the breakdown. So that coupled with the Expedia should cover it. Swedish hotel was unable to get a receipt. Yeah, I think that's understandable. I explain kind of try your best to explain it in the comments and then you know, bring it up to us ahead of time and we'll kind of a lot of the times is we're just trying to make sense of what happened and things outside the typical realm of typical will we get questions. So that's what a lot of that is. So well anyway, I'm Joe. We're gonna be talking about oh, is there any other questions actually?
I had a question.
Sure.
What happened when faculty travels? I had this situation when I was in HNSS with anthropology department. Faculty traveled to uh, Costa Rica, if I'm wrong, maybe I don't remember well, but um, they didn't rent a hotel. She she went and stayed in a house, and also the person over there provide the meals. And when she returned, she just showed me a handwriting note from that person saying, "Oh, I provided lunch and meals, and uh, I received this amount from this faculty," and that
Mhm.
was it. Then I had to go and do my own research, and I remember that we were back and forth because Travel during that time was requesting more of official receipt. Uh,
Hmm.
what will be the rule? Still the same rule for nowadays? I'm talking about probably 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I can say around that time we we may not we may have been heading I don't know if the director was in place at that time. Uh, so there was probably some confusion at that time. But usually a receipt will kind of the anatomy of a receipt. Usually what we'll see is a location, a vendor name. So if there was a provider, maybe the provider name, maybe write receipt on the note. Yes, it's handwritten, but if you know all the points to what a receipt should be, in itemization, so a list of what things are and what they costed, and if a balance was paid. So if it has all the elements of a receipt, then it should have counted as a receipt. So I can't really speak to 4 years ago, but I think when those issues come up, it's always best to bring it up to me. You can also bring it up to our director, and we could talk about it. And maybe we need to work something. Maybe need to have an internal discussion about what it is, and then we can move forward. So
Do you think
that's
that will, sorry, do you think that
Mhm,
will be good to provide probably the invoice that we have from accounts payable? At least faculty can take those forms when they're going to these trips and ask if they had to go to places like they don't have an actual, registered hotel there, at least to make that person to fill out the form and provide everything that you guys need. I haven't seen any form like that. That was my suggestion long time ago, but
Yeah, we do have an invoice template form.
okay,
The invoice template form should, it's an odd thing if we provide that, right? Because if we put our name on top of an invoice template, it really doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. It shouldn't really come from us.
okay,
Um, but something like that could be brought along, but I don't think that it would be necessary.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, good to know. Thank you.
yeah. At this time, actually, were we gonna spend some time kind of like a question and answer with Judo, Brenda?
No,
Judo May?
at the end.
At the end. Okay, so I'll just move forward. Okay, so my name is Joseph. I'm in the Accounts Payable and Travel Department. I'm going to be talking about everybody's travel expense reports. We'll go over roles and responsibilities, main points, and then most importantly, contact information. Why I say that is because, as you can see from the two questions, things do come up that are sometimes they're ambiguous and we need to sort of sort them out. And the general chancellor's policy and our policy, there's some broadness to it. So that's when we want to bring up those issues. So can I get the next slide, please? Okay, roles and responsibilities. So for a traveler, you want to make sure that when you are putting in a travel expense report, so just a little to tie things all together. In the second session, we went over travel requests. So we're not going into requests, but what we are going to go into is travel expense reports. And that's when you've come back from your trip. If you have any P card charges, um, you do have to reconcile your P card. If they are specific to your travel, those items go into your travel expense report. If those items belong to the kind of the group expenses, then those would be reconciled within your P card expense report. But essentially, you want to make sure that you have a complete picture of the travel portrayed within your travel expense report. What is acceptable expenses? Well, four tests that we measure expenses against. Whether they're ordinary, whether they're reasonable, whether they're necessary, and that they are not extravagant. So there are a lot of items that you might be purchasing, and it's kind of hard to tell, well, can I do this and can I not do this? These are the four tests that you would want to judge your expenses against to know or not whether you have something that should be allowed, which is ordinary, reasonable, necessary, and not extravagant. And then when you do turn in your travel expense report, before doing so, you want to make sure that it's a complete package. You don't want to leave anything out. You want to make sure that it's accurate, that the comments within your expense report are relevant, and fill in the parts of the trip that the receipts don't tell. And I think the two questions that we had in the beginning is a perfect example. And maybe you didn't mean to, and I don't know the full background to those situations, but again, kind of even the question coming up and we're having to tease, okay, what happened? That's a lot of is what we're doing. We're trying to figure out what happened so that we can validate the reasonableness of the expense, the necessity of the expense, whether it's ordinary. Um, so those comments really help fill in the story so that we can get the documentation through. You want to make sure that attachments support the idea that everything that you're putting into the system is part of the public record. So sometimes it does feel like, it's a lot of stuff. And the reason that it is because our expenses that come through the state, they are subject to a public records request. And so if we were ever asked, we do have to provide information that's been submitted. And so when the documentation is complete, it provides a complete picture to the public. It provides a complete picture to an auditor so that they know that we're not misusing funds. And then, of course, oh, can we actually go back? Sorry. You want to be able to close out your travel request after claims are received. So you've put in your travel expense report. It's been approved within your DOA. We've processed it in AP, and you've received funds back to you if you had any out-of-pocket expenses. Go back to your concurred travel request and close out the request. And also close out any old requests, please! Exclamation point. That really helps keep kind of maintain the books. On the travel operations side, what we are doing is, we're reviewing your expense report and claims for compliance. And we want to ensure that all the documentation is appropriate and process any due reimbursements. Okay, next slide, please. And so some of the main points that will go into your travel expense report, I won't go into a full demo today, but if you do need help, I have my contact information after this. You want to make sure to file your travel expense report 60 days from your return of the trip. That's for tax reasons. You want to make sure that your travel expense report is linked to the travel request. If you don't know how to do that, there are steps out there. You can always contact me and I can show you as well. You want to add the expenses that actually incurred on the trip. So your requests tend to be estimates. The expenses are what actually was incurred. When it comes to lodging, if you're claiming the actual lodging expense, please include this link that's down below on the fifth bullet point. It's a link to the State Department website and the per diem rate for your area that you were at. If you look at the column maximum lodging rate, that is the maximum reimbursable rate if you're claiming the actual lodging. And then you do also want to include the meals and incidentals, travel allowance, and then if you have a lot of meals kind of covered in the contract, then there's a way to check off that the meals are provided to reduce what that full calculation of meals and incidentals ends up being. You also want to attach documents that support the business expense. So what that means is vendor contract. So we want to we do sometimes need to see what the contract is saying so that we can understand the trip purpose. You want to keep the agenda, itinerary, syllabus, and schedule. These help to substantiate the trip itself. And then receipts. So P card needs receipts and expenses over $75 out of pocket needs receipts. Business expenses can't be claimed on personal days. So personal days should match your request. And my personal take is that if you're traveling on that day, it's a business day. So that kind of makes sense, right? Because you got to get to the place and you're going to go there for business anyway. So if you're traveling, I think a rule of thumb is the travel day is a business day. If the personal days don't match on your request and your expense reports, a lot of people ask, do I need to do an amended? Oh, well, it depends. It depends if your personal days are less than if you took a less personal days, you shouldn't need to amend your expense report. However, if it was more, then you would need to put in an amended travel request to account for the extra personal days. Okay, next slide, please. And then I wanted to talk about what's going to happen in the future. So everything that we talked about, the general process of what the expense travel reports look like and their process, should largely stay the same. But what's going to happen is we're moving to the Chancellor's Office instance of Concur with an estimated implementation of spring next year. So what you will see is that we're going to have some verbiage change, likely, maybe some different words, but they would mean the same. Um, Hopefully with some reduced fields. Some of our fields are repetitive, so I think we should see some of those fields be reduced. But we should also expect to see that processing will in Concur will expand, and those expansions would be like being able to process group travel and being able to reimburse a student via the system, rather than what we will talk about a little later, check requests. So those are some things to look forward to in the future. Next slide, please. And then my contact information, if you need to reach me, this link below my name is clickable. You can book time with me on Thursdays for in-person help. There's a little room by our office, and we can come by, sit down, and I can take a look at your expense reports if you need to. I think a lot of folks on the call know this already, but please do reach out to me if you need help. And then some resources, our website, the Concur Screen Steps, which should go through an overhaul along with the implementation of the new system, and our email addresses. The Concur Open Labs is also a clickable link. So if you're having trouble with Concur, sort of just technical help, you can also click that link and book some time with our with Jessica. And I'll send it over to Sarah in Accounting Services and Financial Reporting.
Thank you, Joe. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone. I'm Sarah from Accounting Service and Financial Reporting. If you were with us last week, we covered how to set up and manage liability account for the study abroad program. Please note that some study abroad programs are fully funded, so they don't require a liability account. A liability account is required for the program that we need to collect payments from the student. And today we're going to talk about the process after the trip ends. Next slide, please. Here's the agenda for today. So I will share with you a few reminders about the unused program fund, how ASFR reconciles study abroad liability account, and a quick refresher on how to check the account balance in TitanInsights and how to refund the unused program funds. Next, please. Right now, we are at phase 6 of the study abroad planning timeline. At this time, department need to notify us so we can start the post-trip process without any delays. Next, please. Here are a few reminders about the unused program funds. Once the semester or term ends, please let us know. This helps to prevent any leftover fund from rolling into the next trip. And if you see any negative balance in the liability account, those are unused fund, and the unused fund need to be refunded to the student following the Chancellor Office guideline. Please double check all vendors have been paid so everything is squared away. And our goal at the end of each term is to zero out the liability account so we can stay compliant with the Chancellor Office and keep our record clean. Next, please. Here's the process after the trip wraps up. ASFR reconcile the liability account for study abroad program to make sure everything is accurate. On your side, department need to check the account balance using Titan Insight dashboard. And once the trip is officially over, please notify us so we can send you the balance of the study abroad liability account based on our reconciliation. And if you see negative balance in the liability account, please refund the unused fund to the students. Next, please. Let's move to the ASFR reconciliations. ASFR reconciles all the study abroad liability accounts. However, each department should have your own reconciliation to keep track of student payments, deposit, and all activities. This is an example of the account 250953 study abroad program in Korea. So back in March 2025, under fiscal year 2024, a student deposited 500 using CashNet item code S2403. At the end of fiscal year 2024, the account had a remaining balance of 8,500, and those deposit 8,500 was carried forward at the beginning balance of fiscal year 2025, and as of July 31st, 2025, the account balance was still 8,500, ready to be used for program expand or student refunds. Next, please. What happened during the final reconciliation? The program ends with zero balance. So the full amount of 8,500 was fully refunded to the student. Here's how it worked. Department submit check requests for each student, and those check requests were processed over 3 months, July, August, and September in 2025. And during our reconciliation, we tracked the check request to tie back to the right refund. Once all payments were completed, the account 250953 was successfully zeroed out. That keep everything clean and compliant. Next, please. Here, here is another example of our reconciliation. Take the account 250890 study abroad program in Costa Rica. As of June 30th, 2025, and of fiscal year 2024, here's what we saw. There was a refund issued to the student for 150. The department submitted a check request and it was processed in June through an accounts payable voucher. Next, the remaining balance, 2,700, went to a vendor and it was processed in March, also through an account payable voucher. In this case, both vendor payments and student refund were handled promptly. That brought the account balance to zero, keeping us compliant with the Chancellor Office guideline. Next, please. Now we're going to talk about how to check the account balance in TitanInsights. If you join us session 3, this will feel familiar. So today I just do a quick refresher. If you need more detail, you can go back and watch the recording for session 3 later. TitanInsights offers several reports to monitor the account. And to access the TitanInsight, you need to log into your CSUF portal using your campus credential, and then it will navigate to the TitanInsight dashboard where you can view the liability summary report, actual detail report, or check the beginning balance. Next, please. This is the liability summary report where you can view all the study abroad programs financial activity. And to get started, You just select fiscal year, accounting period, the account number. You can leave the fund field blank if you don't have one. Just entering the account works fine. This is the liability summary report for the account 250953 study abroad program in Korea. In this report, you can view 8500 was recorded in prior year and was carried forward as the beginning balance of current fiscal year and were used for student refund that brought the account balance to zero, meaning all funds were used as planned. Next, please. After viewing the summary report, you can dig a little deeper to the actual detail report. You just need to click on the amount in the summary report and then drill down to the actual detail report. Or if you prefer, you can head over to the actual detail tab and then select fiscal year and accounting period you want to view. Next, please. Once you're in the actual detail report, you can view all the breakdown of transactions like student deposit, vendor payments, and refunds. If you want to save or share the report, you can click on the three dot menu on the right hand side and then download it in CSV or Excel format. Super handy for reconciling the account. Next, please. This is the actual detail report for the account 250953, and here's what to keep an eye on. At like description column, if you see entries starting with DP, those are check requests. At journal ID column, if you see entries starting with APV, those are accounts payable vouchers. And document source, if you see PYB, those are prior year balance, meaning the balance will carry over from previous years. Next, please. After viewing all the transactions and balance in TitanInsights, the department can keep track of student deposits, payments, or any activities for a current year. So once the trip officially wraps up, here's what you need to do. First, please make sure all vendors have been paid. So if there is anything still outstanding, please take care of those payments first to make sure everything is accounted for. And if you see the negative balance in the liability account, again, those are unused funds and the department need to issue a refund to the student. To do that, the department need to submit a check request to accounts payable. We include an example of the check request here for your reference, and then the accounts payable team will guide you through the details, what document you need to submit, key informations, and timeline for processing those refunds. That's all we have for ASFR today. If you have any question, please let us know. Or reach out to us at asfr@fullerton.edu. Now I'm gonna hand it over to Joe so he can continue the next part.
Hello, it's me again. I'm going to talk about, before I move on, are there any questions up to this point? Okay, if not, we're going to go into a couple of accounts payable processes, invoicing and check requests. For these few slides, I'm going to mostly be going over the basic principles of invoicing and check requests, just to kind of give a broad overview of the business process. Then hopefully that puts into context kind of what you might be needing in the future. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, in regards to vendors, there's generally two ways to pay a vendor. Well, I guess if you count P card, there's three, but we're talking about invoices and check requests specifically. Accounts payable has two ways to pay vendors. Mainly, we want to pay with invoices. To pay uh, an invoice has to match a purchase order. So, to get a purchase order, you need to have an approved requisition. What a purchase order does, it encumbers funds for the invoice to pay from. So, if we don't have encumbered funds, accounts payable cannot pay the invoice. So, kind of if you're starting a process of contract negotiations, it's a good time to, if you're a coordinator, reach out, or if you're not a coordinator, reach out to a coordinator to get a requisition started. That way, PO funds can get encumbered. Um, what happens is that vendors would submit an invoice for payment. Uh, please don't assume that they will magically get paid somehow. They have to submit for payment. And right now, our vehicle for payment submission is payables@fullerton.edu. And the invoices themselves, they need to state the PO number for matching. So those kind of elements, part of the invoice, are needed to pay. Sometimes we'll get invoices where they don't have a PO, services are already rendered, and then it's kind of, oh, what do we do with this? So that's kind of why I'm breaking it down to its bare bones of how an invoice should be paid within any system. For check requests, they really serve a purpose to make payment when we don't have an invoice. Generally, check requests are prioritized because you have some time constraints. The thing about check requests is because we didn't have all that requisition purchase order processes going on in the front end, when you do a check request, you have to have all the backup documentation attached to it to make sure that you have that expedited processing that you're looking for. You'd be surprised we get check requests that are unsigned, they're missing documentation, they have the wrong account codes, and we want to try to avoid that if we can. So I do suggest invoicing whenever possible. Check request is really kind of that backup situation that you have to turn to a check request. Um, check requests that don't have the items in the qualifying items list, they need to get cleared within our department. So if you don't see the item that you're trying to pay for within the qualifying items list, which is linked here in this slide, uh, use the financial services category. In that way, I think I spelled category wrong. I'm sorry. Uh, use the financial services category so it can kind of clear it through internally so that we can get it paid for you. You should expect that there are probably going to be some conversations that had to be had anytime that category is used. Okay, next slide, please. So some processing tips for invoices and check requests. Again, start with a requisition kind of around the same time negotiations are happening or you're engaging a vendor or Sage has already engaged a vendor and you've kind of already been talking about what services you want to provide for the students. It's a good time to start kind of the requisition process or even just ask. It's hard to remember all this stuff, so this is the time to ask. Submit for a new vendor if that's needed. We have a Smartsheet vendor submission form that's linked in the next slide, or not, the next two slides. If a deposit is due, usually that should be stated in the contract. So if it's not, make sure that it is. And then it can be invoiced. Again, the invoice needs a PO, so that all needs to be worked out with the vendor ahead of time so that if an invoice is submitted, it can pay within the payment terms. So, and general payment terms are a net 30, unless it was agreed upon otherwise. The vendor can put net 10 and we would honor that, which means within 30 days of the invoice date or 10 days within the invoice date. Invoices need a PO to pay. I'm repeating that because a lot of invoices come in without a PO and then we need to find out what the PO is. It's not always obvious. So if the vendor can put the PO on the invoice, that's perfect. If they give you the invoice first, if you could jot down the PO number on it, that would be great. Do encourage vendors to use ACH payments. There's a form that we have that I'll add it to these slides before it sends out. I think I forgot to add it in these slides, but the ACH is available. And if special check handling is needed, do let us know so that we know how to handle the check. Generally, checks will just be mailed. And if that's fine, you don't need to say anything. To submit your invoices and check requests, they would go to payables@fullerton.edu for payment processing. So if we don't get them through that inbox, then we will not be able to process it. For check requests, remember that you're considering the check request because you do have a time constraint. Before we could pay anything, you need to make sure that the contract is signed. I guess you may be surprised to know that sometimes people try to pay for things and the contract is not signed, so that causes complications. We can't pay it until the contract is signed. Make sure that the chart fields are correct. I can't advise you on what chart fields that you will need to use, but do check with your budget analysts. They should know. And provide a list of students attending as part of your backup, specifically for student refunds. The refund backup should make sense. We don't always know what we're going to get from a day-to-day basis, so make sure that whatever backup you do send tells us the story that the student refunds are due for whatever reason. It helps us to understand, and it actually does make the processing faster because we get in the same page as you. And what you want to do is use the SBS fees and student refunds category. Next slide, please. This is kind of hard to see, but I did want to just add the form fields of what it looks like from the accounts payable check requests web app. This one mimics what Sarah showed earlier. It's a little bit hard to see, so I apologize for that. But here, vendor name you're seeing is the student name. The vendor email is the student email. You do want to put in the student CWID in the CWID box. The address is the student's address. The category is SBS fees and refunds. The invoice date, let us know if you don't have a specific invoice date. Put in the date that you're submitting, and then the invoice amount for each specific person. And then the description I put in here was refund for student study abroad, participation fees, the program name, the original deposit amount. And then in the check handling instructions, I just put mail check to student. But we would default mail the check. But if there are any other specific handling instructions, you could put that there. And that sums up the check request form. Once you submit this form for approval, actually what this form does is it outputs a PDF file, and then you can attach your backups to that PDF file. Next slide, please. Okay, something along the horizon. P2P is coming. It's kind of a similar deal with Concur. The basic principles presented today generally should remain the same. So the business process should remain the same. That means requisitions, POs, invoices, they are all will still be connected. But with P2P, what we're going to gain from P2P is a lot of transparency. And what we should look forward to when it comes to specifically with study abroad is that um, there's going to be a contracts module that's going to be integrated within the system. When we roll out in January, the contracts module won't be in there. It's currently being worked on. But the CSU is looking to implement a contracts module within P2P. So a lot of this confusion that we kind of have the back and forth, we hope to reduce all of that utilizing the P2P system. And then I have this bullet point guidance every step of the way. We are planning trainings, very regular trainings at rollout every day. Uh, the first 5 weeks, we were planning like 4 hours a day every day. So we're going to be available. Contracts and procurement is going to be available to campus to help guide you through what needs to happen. So I know it's a lot of information. The main point is keep in contact with us. Always reach out when you need help because we want to try to smooth things out wherever we can. And trainings are going to be available, very, very available. Next slide, please. And so here are our accounts payable resources. If you need to add a vendor, this link here will take you to a vendor setup form. Please do fill it out for new vendors. A note on students having to get added. For now, if you know that a student needs to get added, do use the form. If you're not sure and you've put in your check request submission, what will happen is, the check request gets assigned to an analyst within our department to work. And if they see that the vendor needs to get added, a lot of times what will happen is they might do it for you, but if they need help doing it, they might reach out to you to fill it out for them if they're a little swamped. So kind of expect that. Generally, if you're not sure and we're missing something, we will always reach out if we need something. So if you're not sure, don't worry. We'll be here to guide you through the steps. I've also linked the check request qualifying items list that I referenced earlier. That was reduced from a couple years ago, so there's a few less items, but the categories are a little more broad to capture what you might be needing for check requests. The check request form is also linked, our accounts payable website. If you need to get in contact with us, the best way is ap@fullerton.edu. This is for inquiries only, please. Please refrain from sending in payable submissions to that inbox. The weird thing about ap@fullerton.edu, it's been around for so long that we get a lot of spam. So we don't want your payable and questions getting lost. So it helps us to separate what's payable and what's a question. So please, questions sent over to ap@fullerton.edu and payable items, payables@fullerton.edu. If you send a payable item to ap@fullerton.edu, we are screening for that, but you should expect at least a little bit of delay because we have to kind of sort through everything that we get, which is kind of a lot. I'm sure you guys understand. So I think that might be it for me. Can we get the next slide?
Yeah, thank you so much. All right.
Right, yes, great. So I'll hand it over to Ketley, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All righty. So we have our survey link. Please go ahead and fill that out. If you still have any questions, there's the email address, phone number, and then if you ever want to keep up with all things financial services, contract and procurement, there's multiple ways to get in contact. If there are still any questions, chat is still open. Feel free to answer those, but I'd love to give Judelle a chance to introduce herself, kind of share her experience with faculty-led programs and experience with the financial aspects of that, working with the budget department, working with multiple departments for that matter. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and hand it over.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Hi, everybody. My name is Judelle May Mariano. Please feel free to just call me Judelle. A little bit about me is that I am a part-time faculty for the Department of Child and Adolescent Studies, and I'm fairly new at this. So for those of you who may be like, oh, this is also overwhelming, I am right there with you. I totally feel you on that. But I think the most important thing that I always keep in mind is that there are always people to help us. There is always, always, always people to help us, right? And so I think that's what's beautiful about it, because all of these wonderful people who are doing all of this amazing work, doing this training with us, it's so reassuring to me. I wish that you all could get more people to help you, right? Just like how we would want like more help ourselves. But so I have been a traveling faculty to 2 programs for the Department of Child and Adolescent Studies. We've been doing this for decades now, like for quite a long time. Our department has 2 practicum classes that's required for the major. And so through IRA, through grant writing, through support through university, through course consolidated fees, we are able to get some funding for students to help offset that. So we can make it as equitable and make it for, as many students as we can. So I traveled to Costa Rica in January this year, and Spain in June of this year. I was a traveling faculty, and then I'm leading my very own 2 programs. I know, right, Brenda? I'm leading my own 2 programs this upcoming January to Costa Rica again, and then Argentina, and Uruguay in June of 2026. And then I wrote for my very first time 2 grants for the 26-27 year. So it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But again, I think what's been amazing is that there's so many people to support you. Concur, is a lot. Like Stephanie Colquette has like helped me out so much with like my liability and insurance. I mean, it's all of these people, Ketley, Cherie, Abigail, everybody here is just so knowledgeable. And so guess what? If you make a mistake, they'll come back at you anyway, right? So it's okay. Just make your mistakes and don't feel pressured to get everything right the first time. Absolutely, you want to lessen your work, right? Because then they'll come back at you. Hey, you forgot this, and then you have to do it again, and then they come back. But at the end of the day, once again, it's okay. Yeah. So then you can focus on what you do best, which is leading the study abroad program, which is taking care of your students, which is teaching and getting them prepared and making yourself prepared as well. So yeah, those would probably be my my biggest things. Any questions or any thoughts, any insights?
I have a personal question.
Please.
I have a daughter. She's in her second year at CSUF. How can she get involved in study abroad?
I love that. Yes, absolutely. So I think, what department are they?
Arts.
Arts. Okay. So I think the SAGE website is amazing. So I tell all of my students, even if you don't go to the one that's led by this, by your department, there's lots of different ones that are open to other majors, other departments, for example, right? So yes, definitely I would highly recommend that they go to the SAGE website and to search through what are the different kinds of programs, study abroad programs. There are some that are specific to the department, but there's lots of others that are not. And then also the cost, right? That would be one thing that I would have them do as well, is for them to check, what's in their budget. So for our department, because we get IRA funding, thank you so much for that. And it is work, but again, like students can go like the cheapest that they could ever go, like $500 to $700, right? With everything, taken care of. So absolutely. I think going to the SAGE department, asking around, checking in, looking to see through the different programs that are out there for them. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. What advice would you give a faculty member that is interested in doing this program? Where should they start? What is the first thing that you would recommend?
Oh my goodness. So I think your department chair. I think that would probably be the number one thing is saying like, hi, I mean, obviously if it's going to be tied to your department, right? It's like, hi, I went to the SAGE training. I think that our students could really benefit from this, right? And really making your case in that way. And if they're for it, then attending these trainings, because there's some where it's like, they have it for the IRA funding. They had like trainings for us, right? And how to best fill that out and things like that. And then probably, I mean, you can always speak to me, of course, as well. But I think the SAGE folks too, because they work with the entire CSUF, they know the different types of vendors that are out there. There's some vendors that are like excellent where you don't like they do a lot of the underground for you. Do you know what I mean? And then there's some vendors that are great with the logistics of things, but then maybe they you have to do a lot of the work with like connecting with the programs on the site, you know, so kind of things like that. So kind of checking to see like what vendors, getting quotes well ahead of time. Like I received quotes for the 26, 27, like earlier this year. So just kind of start thinking about that, checking in with folks that you know are going to help fund it, right? Like your department, giving the green light. And then the number one thing, the study abroad. This is what we tell our students, right? It's not volunteerism. It's also not for us. Like these are for the students, right? That's like the number one rule as the faculty leads, traveling faculty. These are for the students. So what are the benefits that the students are going to get? So for us, because we're child and adolescent studies, we go to elementary schools, we go to programs, we go to teen mom programs, we go to, IVP programs in Argentina that we're going to be going to, intimate partner violence. So things like that, that we know they will get a lot out of. And then I also have them do as part of their hours, some teaching teams. They do lesson plans and things like that. So I scaffold them as well. So it's really thinking first about what you want to do, where you can get the support, and then B, what kind of programs are out there that will really make it be the best that it could be for our students.
I have one last question for you.
Please.
So, with all of the changes and changes to come, I hear a lot from faculty, especially faculty who are kind of new in this experience of like, oh, this is kind of like what you said, like a little bit overwhelming. So, you've led a couple, you're leading a couple more. So, what tips would you have for faculty to, I guess, alleviate all that it looks like that it might be a little overwhelming or it might be seems like they are juggling a lot. How do you kind of like keep your head above water when it comes to obviously teaching yourself and then going through all the steps and processes of developing a program like this?
Ah, such a how do I do it? How do we all do it, right, everyone?
I,
um,
I have an answer to that a little bit.
oh please, Joe, please go for it.
Bribe your coordinators. I think the coordinators really carry a lot on their shoulders, and make them your partners. Make them your partners.
AKA it's a community, huh,
Yeah.
everybody? Like we all know this. Like we all see each other, we all help each other. And you know what, everybody? Like I I think we just have to give ourselves and each other so much grace because we're gonna make mistakes. People are gonna, make mistakes. They're gonna forget this one thing or they're gonna ask for this or things like that. And I think as long as I don't know, I enjoy it. I enjoy it because then when I do travel, it's like, look at this transformative experience, not just for the students, but for me, right? Like look at these things that we're able to do. I think definitely taking care of yourself is a big one. Little steps, little things. What I do like to do with my traveling faculty, there's at least one or two that travel with me, is we do concur together. we do all of the I go on Zoom with them and I go, okay, we're gonna do the travel insurance portion. So Stephanie Colquette can get us our travel. And then we do concur after that. So I think just making it, really community based where we're like, wow, we're in it together. We can ask each other things. And then if we don't have an answer, we can find somebody who can, right? Our coordinators, our analysts, Jeff Randolph, they're the ones for the HHD. They've been really amazing with helping us with like finance piece of it, Ketley, and looking at the budget. I mean, it's so much, but at the same time, I think as long as we're enjoying it, we know our end goal, right? We know our end goal for these things. And at the same time, just making sure that yes, we stay supported, we support each other, and that we continue to I don't know, others people organizations is very different, huh? Like people's organizations. So I have my own way. I have a lot of folders. I have Excel spreadsheets on things, I have, to-do lists and things like that. So however way that you can be organized, but it can be done. It absolutely can be done. So yeah, I think I was about to do a truth bomb right now, but I'm not gonna say it. Okay, I'm gonna say it anyway. I still have not submitted my Spain summer June my expense.
Reach
So,
out to me.
so I'm guilty, right? I'm guilty of being late and doing things, but again, it's on my to-do list, right? I just need to get it done. But there's other things, right, that were more important, quote unquote, and I'm like, okay, if I get paid, I get paid. End of the day, it's as long as we can kind of keep our heads a little bit above water and that we're enjoying it at the same time. So
I hear that a lot. Exactly what you said. The faculty they're willing to just, you're not gonna put in a claim yet, like, and they're willing to shoulder that. So, a big applause for that standpoint. But do reach out to me. I would love to help you with your claim to get you home.
thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insight. Great conversation. We're able to definitely bounce off of each other, and absolutely, definitely, there's a lot of support coming from all directions. So, none of us will ever let you fall. We'll always be sending out reminders. We always like to keep up with, hey, this is how you reach out to us. So, again, this is, a group effort. So, if you have not yet, please fill out the survey link. Brenda, let me know if I'm missing anything before I close out.
Nope, you're good. I just want to
Awesome.
thank Sage and risk management, SBS, travel, CMP, e-business, ASFR. They're all the teams that came together, collaborated quickly over the last few months to put this training together. And really, it really helps that you guys do the survey because then we can improve and get information out to you. Thank you. Thank you.